to this edition of the screencast. Today what we are going to learn about is functions. So first thing we need to do is we need to get into RURPLE. So we'll click here on RURPLE. And let's make this bigger so that we can see it. And we're going to go to the Code and Learn section here. And what I want to do is I want to make a figure 8 racetrack for RURPLE to run around. So I'm going to click here on the wall and let's create a little figure 8 for him to run around. So I'm going to create a little box here, another box here, and then let's put a big box here. Okay, so there's our figure 8 racetrack. Now what I need to do is I need to move RURPLE into the figure 8 racetrack. So I'm going to move him forward, forward, forward. Then I'm going to turn him and then move him up. And whoops, that hurt. It looks like what we need to do is we need to give him a way into the racetrack. So let's get rid of one little block there and move him forward again. And at this point, let's save this racetrack as the figure 8. So this little section here is where we save our world. So I'm going to click on Saves the World file. Maybe. Okay, here's our Save the World file. And we'll call this figure 8. And we will save it. Okay, now what we need to do is let's put in our wall back. And now let's teach RURPLE the robot how to go around the figure 8. I want him to go up to here, turn here, go up here, over here, down here, around here, and back to where he starts. So, wouldn't it be nice? It looks like we have several left-handed turns and several right-handed turns. And if we go back here to what RURPLE understands here, it looks like RURPLE only knows how to turn to the left. So wouldn't it be nice in this world if RURPLE knew how to turn to the right? Well, we know that RURPLE knows how to turn to the right. To turn to the right, what do we have to do for RURPLE to turn right? We have to give him 3 left-hand turns. So let's define a new word in his vocabulary. So to do that, you type DEF or define. And then what do we want to call this? We want to call this turn right. And we put parentheses and then a full colon. So that's defining a new word in our world called turn right. So how do we turn right? We turn left. Whoops, we got a plus sign there we don't want. Turn left, and turn left. Okay, notice how we have this all indented here. So since this is indented, whenever I see turn right, how do we turn right? We do 3 turn lefts. So at this point, now what I'm going to do is, what do we need the robot to do? We need him to march forward 1, 2 steps. So here we're going to say forward, and then forward. And then what do we want him to do? He's going to be at this position here. And the next thing that we need him to do is we need him to turn to the right. So we can just say turn right. Notice how I said turn right here, and turn right is defined as a word up here. So what's going to happen is he's going to go forward, forward. When it sees turn right, it goes up here and does this. Turn left, and then returns back and continues on. So now that we've turned right, he needs to go 2 more steps forward and forward. Okay, let's see how far this gets. So what we're going to do at this point is we are going to make sure that we have saved the world as figure 8. And we're going to take off here and run the program, and he's going to go forward is not defined. So forward isn't the word, it is move. So my mistake, instead of forward, we need to type move. See what happens when we make a mistake? When we make an error like that, that is called a syntax error. That means that I've typed something wrong. It's not a logic error. My logic was okay, but my syntax, or the words that I used, was faulty. So let's go here and change all those forwards to moves. And let's see what happens as we run it. And he goes forward 2 steps, turn to the right, goes 2 more steps, and then he complains because we forgot to turn him off. Let's go ahead and turn him off here. Turn off. Is that the command or is it something else? Looks like the command is turn off. So we've got the command correct. So now we have him at this point, and what do we want him to do? Here we want him to turn to the left and then move 2 squares. Let's restore him back to the default position here, and let's run this and see how far he gets. He's turning beautifully there, goes there, turns beautifully, and goes up there, and everything's cool. Okay, what else do we need him to do at this point? We need him to turn again to the left, don't we? Turn left. Then we need him to move 2 more squares. And let's make sure that it is good to that point. So I'm going to reset the world and turn him loose. Okay, so it looks like we've got to that point. So now he is facing that direction. And what direction does he need to turn? Does he need to turn to the right or to the left? It looks like he needs to turn to the left. So let's have him turn to the left and take 2 more steps. And reset and see how this works. So he goes up there, turns, goes over here and turns, and turns. Okay, now at this point, he needs to turn again to the left. So let's turn him to the left and move him 2 positions. Move and move. And I've got a little plus sign there I don't really want. So we'll reset and see how this works. Notice how I'm doing it just a step at a time, just to make sure that I'm doing things correctly. This is called stepwise refinement. It's a good idea when you are programming to be able to do just a step at a time. That way, if there's an error, you know when the error happened because you just did 2 or 3 lines of code. So at this point right now, he is facing to the east, and we need him to turn to the right. So we'll hit turn right and move him a couple of squares. And let's speed up the animation here a little bit. Reset the world and turn him loose. So that looks good. Again, he needs to turn to the right. And move 2 more spaces. And we always want to position him where he started and in the direction that he started. So we need him to turn to the right one more time. So let's turn to the right. And let's make sure this is going to work. I'm going to reset this and turn him loose, and he's going to go around there, around and down and face up, and he is done. So another thing that we could do with this is we want him to be able to just run the figure 8. So let's define a new function here. Define run 8. Parentheses and then a colon. This whole area here needs to be indented. So I'm going to hit the shift key down and hit the down arrow. Notice how I'm highlighting this whole section of code here. And then what I want to do is I want to indent this, and it doesn't look like I have a way of indenting that, does it? Maybe if I just hit the tab key. Yes, perfect. Now notice how it is indented. So whenever we see indented code, whenever we say run 8, it's going to run all of these commands. So right down here, I'm going to hit run 8. So here we're defining a new word in the language called turn right. Here we're defining a new word in the language called run 8. And this teaches it how to run the 8. This teaches it how to turn right. Whenever I see run 8, it's going to come up here and do this. And whenever I see turn right, it's going to run up here and turn left 3 times. So if this program, if everything is set, we'll reset it and we will go. Now notice how it goes around and stops. If I want to see what it's doing, let's slow the animation down quite a bit. Reset and go for it. Notice how it's running the 8, so we're moving and we're moving. Now we turn right, so we jump up to the turn right function and do the 3 turn lefts. Then we return back to where we were, do the 2 moves, do a turn left, do a couple more moves. Then we do a turn left, couple more moves, another turn left, couple of more moves. Then we turn left again and do 2 more moves. Notice when you say turn right, it jumps up to the right function and turns left 3 times. Then it returns where it left off and continues on with the move and then the move. Then it does another turn right, so it jumps up and does the 3 turn lefts. Then returns back where we were. Does the moves again and again. Does turn right again, which is 3 turn lefts. It's done with the run 8, so it returns back to the function that called it and turns itself off. So if I do this, speed it up a little bit, and reset, and away we go. It goes around the 8, and we have it set. Well, what happens if I want it to go around the 8 3 times? Since it's already been taught how to run the 8, I can just say run 8, run 8, run 8. And then I'm going to turn it loose, reset, and go for it. And it did it 3 times. Okay, so what would be neat is if I had some sort of a lap counter. And we can use the little beepers to create a lap counter. So what we're going to do is right here, we are going to add some beepers to the robot. Now he has plenty of beepers. Whenever he goes around the thing, he is going to put a beeper in his position. So if we say put beeper, that is going to put the beeper there. And that is going to tell us how many beepers there are. It's going to be a number in a circle, which would be a lap counter. So let's just slow it down a little bit so we can kind of see what's going on. Away he goes. He puts 1. This is lap 2. And there we go. So he has done it 3 times. So if I wanted him to do it more times, we can say run 8. And run 8 again. Now let's reset and go for it. There's 1, 2, 3 times, and 4 times, and 5 times. So that is how we can teach the robot how to do additional things. When we started the lesson today, we did not know how to turn right, and we did not know how to run the 8 pattern. However, we taught the computer how to turn right. We taught the computer and the robot how to run the 8 pattern. And then we told it to run the 8 pattern. That run the 8 pattern also had some turn rights in there, which was defined up here. Whenever you define new functions like turn right or run 8, they have to be defined before you use them. So obviously, if it doesn't understand how to do something, then it won't know how to do it. So you need to tell the computer to how to do turn right and tell the computer how to run 8. Then you can use them. All right, the final section of this, we need to save this. We are going to save the program. We've already saved the world here. We're going to save the program so that we can continue on with this in the next lesson. So let's go here and click here. And let's call this figure 8. Notice how it's an RUR file. That means it's a program file. You don't want to get those mixed up with WLD files, which is the world file. So let's go ahead and we're going to save this. And then that finishes this screencast.